We are ready to rock and roll. Welcome to Session Proper. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Corey Wolf. I work at the Digital Marketing Tribe, and we are here to talk about website speed. The first thing we're going to do is say a big thank you to everyone for turning up and listening to me. I know it's a really challenging time at the moment with the coronavirus and the shutdowns and the massive changes to everyone's businesses. I don't think there's anybody that's not affected by these changes. So thank you for coming along. We're going to cover off on how you can speed up your website. And this is as important as it ever was to make sure that your website is as fast as possible. This enables you to rank on Google. Customers are going to be even more cautious and wary than they've ever been before. So it's a great brand signal to let people know that you know what you're doing because your website performs. Without further ado, let's get into the session proper. I'm going over here, and that's not showing up the way I wanted it to, which is fine. We will rectify that. We will just have to rectify that. All right. Hey, here we go. We've got it up. We're working. That's brilliant. All right, just look over here, make sure that's on. Welcome. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate you coming along to this. There's just that little thing in the corner here that's going to drive everyone mad if I don't get rid of it. Obviously, we don't need that. No, we're going to have to live with the little thing in the corner. So this is Willow approved, this little session, and it's a new thing we've got today is that Willow's actually here with us. Usually I talk about Willow quite a bit in my sessions. She's my blue healer, for those of you who don't know. And she hears all of these before I give them out. So she's got a really good idea of how this all works. Clearly, she's a dog, and she can't actually give me any feedback, but in my head she kind of tells me if it's good or not good, and this one she thought was quite good. So let's introduce Willow now. Come on sweetie, come on, up again. So this is Willow in the flesh. Say hi everyone, say hi over here, say hi to everyone, don't try and lick my face. Over here, yeah. So this is Willow. She thinks this is a good video, so hopefully you do too. All right, that's enough, darling. Off you go. Go back to your spot. Good girl. Good girl. She's, of course, going to bother me now for a while, and it's my fault. But we'll work through. So why is website speed so important? Delays of over 3 seconds can lead to a 40% abandonment, which blew my mind the first time I read it. 47% of people expect a site to load in less than 2 seconds, and 20% of users abandon their cart if the transaction process is too slow. And these are quite old numbers. I couldn't get numbers from the last sort of 2 years. So these are 2018 numbers. So people are going to be even more sensitive to these things. I think everybody knows right now that this is an important thing. You know yourself, if you're on your mobile phone and you're flicking through and something takes too long to load, you'll just bail, you just leave. So really, it's a problem that we all need to solve and we all need to focus on. So measuring current performance. Before you do, before you do anything else, you need to find out where you're at so that you can deal with that. So we've got Haig's chocolates again as our reference piece. I love Haig's chocolates. I'm a celiac, and there are very few chocolates that are certified gluten-free. A lot of them may contain traces of other things by the way they're made, but that is not the case with Haig's chocolates. So I'm actually a big fan of the brand, and that's why I pick on them so much, because you can do better. You're an Aussie brand, a local SA brand, and I just feel that you could do so much more with digital marketing. It's not trying to be mean. I love what you do, and I think they could do more. So I say this on all of my videos, but Haig's, if you're watching this one, give us a call. I can help you with your website speed. You can see here This is Google Speed Insights. This is a great tool for giving you an overall look at how fast your website is or is not. Where this tool lacks a little bit of finesse is that you get a score out of 100, but that's just 100 things that you could do to speed up your website. So I have seen times where this has been set to you've got 70 or 80%, and you literally couldn't do any more without changing the functionality of the website. So use this as a great guide, but don't live and die by it. You know, if you've got a 9, you've got a lot of work to do. There's no fast loading website that gets a 9. But use this as a tool as a benchmark to go, this is where we started and this is where we want to go. GT Metrics. GT Metrics is my favorite tool for measuring site speeds. There's so much in it that you can do. We're going to dive into a bit of it today. But again, run your speed score, see what kind of, you got a page load time here, a full load time of 15 seconds, and a massive size of 4.79 meg. Now, I'm going to show my age here, but do you know how many floppy disk drives it would take to get 4.79 meg? It's 3.5, almost 4. They used to be 1.4 meg. So that gives you a bit of an idea on how massive this page is. So don't do that. Make a small, fast website. So one of the great things about GT Metrics is that it gives you the ability to see this waterfall chart of all of the different things that are being loaded. And we're going to delve into this in a bit more detail in a minute, but you can see here there's a lot of things happening. So yeah, speed measurement tools that I recommend are the Google Page Speed tool, as I spoke about. GT Metrics is my favorite, but Pingdom Tools is also fantastic. It's a great tool you can use to track your speed, as well as Web Page Test.org, also brilliant. I've listed them in the order that I prefer to use them, but really, as long as you're testing how fast your website loads, that's the important thing. So I've brushed past this, but Google wants to see your website load in under 3 seconds on a mobile device. A lot of us now, with the improvements in PHP and servers, we can get a website to load in under 3 seconds on a desktop. But Google's main focus is mobile, and that's because everyone's moving to mobile. The highest percentage of traffic now is on a mobile device. That threshold was actually met, I think, in 2016 or 2017, where we went from 50-50 desktop and mobile over to the full, looking more at mobile. And for some platforms, like some e-commerce platforms and other people, you can see up to 90% of web traffic is on a mobile. The reason that this is important when you're talking about page speed is that mobiles tend to load slower. So you're not always on a Wi-Fi connection. You might have 3G or, heaven forbid, H plus or 2G, as I used to call it. And that speed is significantly slower than your normal connection, your NBN connection. So that's why we're really focused on getting that load time in under 3 seconds on a mobile device. So we're giving good brand signals to the customers. We'll let customers know that we're trustworthy because we've got our stuff together and our website loads well. And we're minimizing the frustration that people have. Hosting. So I've put this whole thing together as a playbook for the things that you can change and improve to improve your site speed. So basically, you go and you look at your website, and if you follow in order, these is the most important to least important that should show you the biggest results. I say that with a caveat because the first 3 or 4 of these suggestions are all pretty darn important. But gun to my head, if I could only pick one thing to improve on a website, it'd be hosting. It's super, super important. The analogy that I stole from John Alderson is, I didn't come up with it. I'm a stealer. Sorry. Is looking at a delivery factory. So your website, we're talking mainly about WordPress here, but PHP based websites in general, or even websites that are modern CMSs, they all have these packets that are being moved around. And so with, with your hosting, your hosting really represents how fast can these rollers go and how quickly can they move these packets around. So it doesn't matter how many of these packets you remove, if your rollers aren't very fast, you're not going to get the outcome you're looking for. Again, this is completely stolen, but really useful analogy to help you to think about your hosting and about how to improve that. So the best thing you can do is go and get your hosting sorted out. Now you're asking me, well, how do I know if I've got good hosting or bad hosting? That's a really great question, fictitious viewer. Where do we go? We were in Pingdom Tools before. But you'll see, you've got first content paint. Let's not show it here, but you'll see that there'll be a delay in your hosting. We'll cover this later on in the session. But a good test to see if you've got good hosting is, are you paying per month less than a meal out? If you are, you're probably paying too much. Too little. If you have an animal as the mascot of your hosting provider, you're probably paying too little. Now, hosting is really, really important. This is the face of our businesses, even more so now with the outbreak, where people are looking to be more online than we've ever been before. So invest in good hosting. It's worth it. If you're on HostGator and you're paying $5 or $10 a month, you're not going to have the speeds that we're talking about here. And yes, you can get cheap hosting, but is it really worth it? Is it really worth saving a couple of bucks? I think hosting starting at $30, $40, $50, $60 a month is much more valuable to you than hosting that you are paying very little for. So in no particular order, these are my recommendations for hosting. WP Engine does a fantastic job. They really help you and on board, and they have a great platform. Digital Engine, these guys are also fantastic, and they're essay based, which is great, so you can actually talk to them. They built their platform on AWS, and it is a very fast, great platform to use. Another two that I will mention are SiteGround and DigitalOcean. SiteGround is also quite fast and is easy to use. DigitalOcean, you will need a little bit of help from a developer or someone to set that up in the first instance. I actually run my websites on DigitalOcean. I've got my good friend Eric. Eric, if you're watching this video, thanks, mate. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you. DigitalOcean is another fantastic platform that you can use for hosting. Image optimization. So as I said, if you can do one thing, it's hosting, but it's also image optimization. I don't know how many websites I see with giant images, with just huge images that take forever to load. They're just, 1, 2, 3, 4 megabytes. We were talking about the floppy disk before, right? Well, I've seen images up to 4 megabytes. So that's, 3 floppy disks worth of an image. And the reason that one of the reasons this is such an issue is the image size. So you're uploading an image that's 4,000 by 4,000 pixels because you've taken it on your fancy smartphone, and you've got a heap of pixels. And the problem with that is that your most screen resolution, you're bigger than most screen resolutions. Like I'm on a normal HD monitor right now, your 1080p. And if I took an image that was 4,000 by 4,000, like that's 4 times the size of the whole monitor, and you're uploading that image in a much smaller size. So keeping your images to the right size will definitely help you in this huge image size. Now, I suppose I'm confusing a few of you here because I'm talking about size in 2 different ways. So the image size I'm talking about is the megabytes, like how much space this takes up on a computer, but we're also talking about the physical dimensions of the image. And those physical dimensions of the image don't need to be so big, and the smaller the physical dimensions are, the smaller the actual image will be. Moving on Image optimization is another key point. So when we're taking our photos with our phones, we are getting the best possible image available. Whether it's with your phones or your DSLR or wherever you're taking them, it's the best quality you can get because you might want to print it out in a huge poster. And you need all that quality and detail. But on a website, not so much. You may not need all of that quality or detail. So you can use an image optimization tool to actually compress that image down so that you don't have such a large image and your website loads faster. Now I'm just going to quickly flick over and see if there were any questions that I've missed. Nothing so far. So here are the image optimization plugins that you can use for WordPress. If you don't have WordPress and you're running on a different platform, fear not. Most of these have an online component where you can go and compress them. When it comes to compressing WordPress images, though, I feel the easiest way to do this is just to use this plugin. You don't have to use a plugin. You can definitely manually do it. And if you're doing it through your web development process, absolutely compress them down before you upload them and make sure they're the right size. That is definitely best practice. But if you're stuck with a bunch of big images, these are the plugins that you can use. Smush has been around forever and is fantastic. EU or EWW Image Optimizer is also great. Tiny PNG has a panda, so that's freaking awesome. You know, who doesn't want a panda on their product? And finally, Short Pixel Image Optimization. This is my favorite, mainly because you can just sort of buy your image optimization in bulk. A lot of these will do it partially for free or not to the best quality. But I find for most websites, if you go a Short Pixel and you give them $10, they'll optimize every image on your website. No questions asked, no problems. Another thing to keep in mind is pushing next-gen formats with image optimization. So that's your WebP format and your JPEG 2000, I think the other one's called. These also help with optimization, and a lot of these plugins will automatically optimize the images for you into these platforms. Too many screens. CDN! A content delivery network, for those of you who don't know, is another fantastic way of improving your speed. In fact, if you can do one thing, do the CDN. No. As I said, the first few of these are all really important for seeing improvements in your site speed. CDN is also a great way to do it. So what is a CDN? It is a content delivery network, and basically it is a network of computers that live all over the world, and they have server locations that you can tap into for your website so that whoever you're presenting a website to is loaded from the closest possible server at the fastest possible speed. So this can be a real issue. So if you're hosting with a US company and they don't have a server in Australia, you're already hard up against it to get those 3 seconds because the speed of light is actually limited. I know that sounds insane, like the speed of light is the fastest thing we know of, but it can be a limiting factor. And the reason is that we're running light through a cable, and we're running it across the world. So we're just looking at that picture there, and we imagine running, a physical line from Australia to the US. Like, you've got about 5 milliseconds each way, or about 3. But by the time you calculate it, going there, pinging the server, and then coming back again, you've lost a second just from connecting to the server in another country and coming back again. That's why content delivery networks are so important, because it gives a physical location much, much closer to the individual. So Cloudflare, absolutely brilliant service. It's completely free. It's very simple to set up. If you can't do it, Willow wants to talk. Willow wants in. If you can't set it up yourself, you can definitely get someone with a bit of knowledge to set it up for you. Like I said, it's a brilliant service. It has a lot of built-in things in it that make it quite valuable. Like you can block certain countries if you're getting hit by people who are trying to hack your website quite often. There's a lot more security. I'm a big fan of the company, to be honest. They're running a lot of green initiatives, including a service at the moment where if a attacker is trying to continuously connect to your server, they've set up these little banks of algorithms, nerdy stuff that I love, and they're setting up their responses in a way that actually makes the attacker's computer work really, really hard. So all this spam that you get from people, it's because it's valuable. It's because they can make money out of it. Eventually, they spam you and spam you and spam you, and they get that 0.001% of people that actually take them up on the offer. And so that is weighed off the server cost of actually contacting all these people. Now, what the cool thing that Cloudflare are doing is when these people contact your website, if you enable this on Cloudflare, they will actually make it really difficult for these spammers to contact you, and they'll drive up the CPU usage, which will actually make them pay more to spam you, thus slowing down spammers. I just love this. This is absolutely brilliant. So good. Makes me happy. Also, it's a great service and a product. So check that out. StackPath. This is something that just blew my mind when I was looking into site speed. I'm a big old nerd, and I just love to see things work well. And, my primary interest in site speed was really from an SEO perspective, where I knew that improvements in site speed would lead to better rankings. But then I got into the technical nuts and bolts of it all, and it's really exciting and interesting to me to run through to see how this works and to optimize it yourself and make it work. Pardon me. So StackPath was a fundamental shift for me. It was really, really amazing. So it is a paid service. It's about $20 a month, but the speed increase I got out of it, I got maybe a second and a half out of StackPath by itself. And that was when I'd already optimized that particular site right down. So I've taken websites from a load speed of 20 seconds right down to a load speed of 2. And that's, getting real deep into the weeds and having a good time and looking into all this stuff. But if you just follow these broad instructions that anyone can do today, you'll easily take a 20 or 15 second website into that 3-second ballpark that we're looking to get. So StackPath, brilliant. I actually do something crazy. I run StackPath and Cloudflare together, which gives me more. Look, it's supposed to give me more server locations, but honest to God, I'm not really sure exactly why it works so well. But if you send me a message, I'll definitely let you know. I'll send you some guides on how to run both of these together. Another thing I should mention is that certain providers will actually include a CDN. So I definitely know that that WP Engine and WP, their name has just left me for a second. Sorry guys, I'm going to get back at and Digital Engine. So WP Engine and Digital Engine, they definitely run CDNs straight from the word go. So they run, when you set up your hosting with them, their CDN is built in, and they run different platforms. Digital Engine runs more on the AWS platform, which has a lot of server locations. They're both great options. But what I'm saying is, if you go with one of those two, you really don't have to worry about the CDN setup. How do you run 2 CDNs at once? Well, this is how you do it. This is the online setting, the online guide on how to run 2 at once. Caching plugins. If you can do one thing, get caching plugins. No, look, caching plugins are really important too. And it was quite challenging. As I said, I'm a big nerd. Everything's my baby. It was quite challenging picking the 4 in the order, but really, if you can do these top 4 things, you're going to see some great improvements. So caching plugins are another great way to improve your site speed. What does a caching plugin do? So a caching plugin holds a copy of your website in a localized server in an optimized state so that when you see it come for the second time, it will load much quicker. This is a really basic description. If you want to get in the weeds with me about how exactly they work, let me know and we'll set up a call and just nerd out. But that's an overall kind of look at what they do. I love WP Rocket. This is another one of those things that took a bit of time for me to be convinced because it is a paid option, but the results just speak for themselves. So, you get, these are some of the things that you get built in that you actually have to go and install third-party plugins to get the same functionality if you didn't use WP Rocket. Database cleanup, heartbeat control, lazy loading for images and videos, hosted Google Analytics locally, hosting Google Fonts locally, integration with Cloudflare and other things. I can't overstate how amazing this is. There's another thing that you can just throw on your website and see, a massive increase. I've seen situations where they've just thrown this on and they've gone from 15 seconds down to 5 just from WP Rocket alone. So I highly recommend you spend the $50 to buy this product and run it on your website. It will make a massive difference. There are other caching platforms out there, and they are also quite good. Auto Optimize is a little bit of fiddling around, but it's really good because once you've got it set up, it actually works with GT metrics and optimizes your caching setup based on the information they get from GT metrics. You've also got WP Super Cache and W3 Total Cache. Look, these are great options too, but there is a limit to how deep in the weeds I like to go. And with these two plugins, especially W3, you kind of need a bachelor's degree in fucking around to get these to really perform. But if you've got the time and you love to tinker and you don't want to spend the money, absolutely throw these in. These are great options. But look, if you're like me and you want to get up and get running and you have a limited amount of time that you want to spend testing, definitely WP Rocket. That's your go. So, who's feeling like Willow right now? Who's feeling like I'm killing them? I'm just going to flick over to the chats. Who's dead? Is anyone having trouble keeping up with me? Do you need a nap? Do you want a coffee? Can I get you, a hard drink or something? No, I'm not seeing anything in the chat, so we'll keep going. Make sure that I've selected the right thing. Go past that. You can't talk to someone. Let's dig a little deeper. Digging deeper. All right, self-hosted Google Fonts. I can't tell you how frustrating fonts are for someone who's optimizing websites. Apart from huge images, fonts are one of the most overused, under-optimized things when coming to building a website. If I can plead with you for 1 second, tell your web developer you only want to use Google Fonts. Please, 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 only use Google Fonts. Do not go some crazy route with some font that is really fancy and needs to be custom loaded. Oh, it's such a nightmare to get these fonts to work quickly. Stick with standard Google fonts. Your website will still look nice. You can find variations that are similar to what you're looking for in a lot of the cases, but it just makes life so much easier. And it means that you can host them locally on your server rather than needing to make a call out to Google to bring that font in. Every external call you make outside of your website is going to slow down your website. So if you can load them locally, you're going to see much, much better results. So please, use a Google Fonts, host it locally. And for icons, again, talk to your developer. Just use SVG icons. Using huge icon packs to importing huge font libraries for the icons so that you can use 3 or 4 icons across your website it's a nightmare to speed up these websites. It really is, because you're loading all these fonts, and that has to be loaded before anything else can be painted on the site. So you're pushing your site speed down and down and down. It's much more efficient. If there are any developers out there, for the love of God, stop using font packs to put a couple of icons on a website. Just drop an SVG in. Just drop an image in rather than do that. My rant is over. I'm done with that little rant. Check that out. Asset cleanup speed page booster. This thing's nuts. This is moving into crazy territory. In terms of the performance you can get out of this, it really is mind-boggling. This little plugin enables you to turn off every single JavaScript and CSS request per page or site-wide. Now, what does that mean? That means that you are making fewer requests to the server to bring information. It also means that you're not loading as much information on your website, which is a real hassle for a lot of people. Well, for a website, if you want it to load faster, the fewer the connections you make, the faster it will load. So this plugin is nuts, because it'll actually give you a list of every single connection that's made with CSS and JavaScript. Now, there's a lot of testing involved in making this work effectively. It's not one of those things that you can just set and install it, hit go, and it does it for you. This is time intensive. This is you going through all of the different the calls that are being made on your website and turning off individually ones that you think won't matter, reloading your caching plugin, or turning it off would be even better, and reloading your website and seeing if anything is broken. I personally have spent hours using this plugin to optimize websites, because I'm nuts, right? Because whilst I said I didn't really want to get to all of the settings with the caching plugin a second ago, this, for some reason, this really turns my buttons. This really presses my buttons. I really enjoy seeing what I can remove and condense and get rid of to make the site run faster and faster. So this is a great option if you're looking to optimize site and you've got the time to do it. This is also a fantastic option if you are stuck with a legacy site that you cannot redevelop. So a lot of times with a slow, shitty website, I can help you get under 7 seconds and close to 5. But if you're built on a really heavy infrastructure, if you're using if you've got a website where you're it's just really heavy, it's built on something like WP Bakery, Elementor, or one of these theme builders that are really heavy, and you just can't move away from it. It's ingrained in the way that your company uses the website, and they don't have the money or the time to redevelop a website. This is a fantastic option to deal with that problem, because if you've got the time, or you can pay somebody to spend the time, you can actually remove a lot of that junk out and only load the minimal amount of files you need for the website to work. I won't say too much more about this, but yeah, again, if you want to contact me directly and talk about it, more than happy to do that. Lazy loading images. This one is a little bit controversial. I like websites to load fast, but I really don't like watching images load as I scroll down the page. But that's a very personal thing. A lot of people don't mind that at all. And lazy loading images means that the images will load last rather than first, and they'll load as you scroll down the screen. So really useful. Again, if you've got lots of images, super useful, especially if you've got lots of high quality images, because everything's a trade-off. I have a background in SEO and digital marketing, and a real focus on, playing by the rules of what Google lays out. But sometimes that doesn't fit your business model. Like the example I have as a client was a photographer, and they said, Corey, mate, the website looks terrible. My photos look god awful, because I'd optimized them. And in this business case, it didn't make sense to really focus on optimizing those images. It made more sense to do the best we can and get it to, say, a 4-second load time. Focus on improving the technology that it's delivering those images as much as possible, but making that trade-off and going, we're not going to be able to play by Google's rules here, because the people coming to the website are actually expecting images of a certain quality. Now, you're always going to have that trade-off, but I feel that there is a middle ground, and if you're not a photographer, there really isn't any reason to have big images, and lazy loading can help you in the midway where you're not loading them straight away, and they can also give you great results. Lazy loading videos, this is brilliant. So one of the key things for slow down a website is a video. Everyone's proud of their corporate videos or their explainer videos. They put it front and center in the middle of their website. And what generally happens is that the website then has to load all of the back-end stuff to make this play, and 9 times out of 10, no one interacts with this video. If you use lazy load videos, it'll put an image of that video up there and a play button. So when you hit play, then it loads all that back-end stuff. Brilliant stuff. The Facebook pixel. I love the Facebook pixel. It's brilliant. It drives a lot of useful data, but it alone can add up to a second in your load time. I've pulled it off and seen a second improvement. My advice to you is, if you need it for remarketing or advertising purposes, have a Facebook pixel. If you can get away with it, if you can get rid of it, do not use it. Just get it off your website, because it's going to slow you down. It has to do a call outside of the website and feed that data back. Google Maps. Oh my God, Google Maps. Google Maps is one of those phases that we've gone through. We've gone, this is something cool and pretty, and we can click on it and interact it. But just look at all of those map requests that are coming up on this website. Look at them all. This can slow your website down massively. And guess what? If you've got a lovely little Google map in your footer, every single page has this problem. There is a simple solution though, and that is just to use a simple picture that you would usually use for your Google map anyway, and then on click, link to Google Maps. It gives you 90% of the functionality, except for the little scroll over little bubbly thing, which I think you could probably do with CSS if you talk to your developer. But it just cuts down that load time. Now, some of you are going to be saying, I need my Google Maps for X, Y, and Z, and that is totally fine. We are getting, as I said, deeper into the weeds the further we go, and the less important. But yeah, have a real think about, do you need Google Maps? Because if you don't, get rid of it. There's no need for it to be there, and it is causing you a lot of speed issues. Remove useless plugins. Remove anything that isn't active and you don't need, and look at any other plugins that might be causing you some pain. This is more aimed at sort of the intermediate people that have a good idea of what plugins on their website and what can get removed. And this might be a phone call to your web developer to say, hey, can you spend a couple of hours removing any plugins that are not needed? Plugins will always slow down your website. Update to the latest version of PHP. Yay! PHP versions are really important, and you can get huge speed bumps just by improving. I've seen websites halve their load time by going into the server and upping their PHP number. This is, again, go straight to your developer and just say, hey mate, make sure we're using the most recent version of PHP that is working with our version of WordPress. Enable gzip compression. I still find websites without gzip compression, and it blows my mind. It's basically condensing everything down before it sends it off. It's a really, really useful tool that most people are aware of, but for some reason aren't turned on sometimes. Development considerations. So there are some websites that are just dead. You can't save them. You can't fix them. They need to go. And for those situations, I'm going to give you a bit of a checklist of things that you can consider when talking to a web developer about building a new website. If you have to use a theme builder, really Oxygen Builder and Genesis are the only two that are even worth considering. All of the others are just so heavy, they are not even worth looking at. But again, if you can get away with it, don't use a theme builder. Use something like Advanced Custom Fields. It's really light. So considerations: don't use a page builder like Visual Composer or Elementor. Use the latest PHP version. Defer and async JavaScript. That's just something you need to ask for. Ensure CSS and JavaScript is minified. And build with WP Rig. WP Rig is a development platform for WordPress, and basically it's what WordPress would have been if we developed it now with all the latest features and functionality. And there's a lot of smart minds behind this project. The guys from Google and a whole bunch of other really smart people. So talk to your developer, and you'll look like a gun. Talk to your developer and go, hey, using WP Rig, and they say, no, we're using Elementor. You go, well, bye, thanks for coming, or we use Visual Composer, even worse. But you'll look like a gun, and it will also ensure that your website is future-proof and ready to go as fast as possible. Okay, AMP. Should you use AMP? I haven't expanded on that question. Hey, should you use AMP? In my experience, no, you can get by without it. AMP, accelerated mobile pages, you can put a plugin into WordPress and select the pages that will load using AMP, and they will load instantly, much, much faster. It's a platform that Google is laying out, and I feel using AMP is kind of giving up. And the reason for that is that your styles, your CSS styles aren't the same as they are on the rest of your website. You're really limited on I don't think you can use JavaScript at all. If you can, it's again really limited what you can do. And also, it's another platform that Google owns, and I'm just not a big fan of that. Look, some people love it. If you've got a news site, I had a client recently that did science news. They need AMP because AMP is what's used by Google for the discovery articles, as those articles that come up as suggestions on your phone. But apart from that, some use cases for it in general, I just say don't use it. It's not worth it. Questions? Do we have any questions? Do I have the right screen? Questions? Just flick over. It doesn't look like we have any questions. Give you another second or two. Think about it. Dum, 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 dum. No worries at all. So if there aren't any questions, let me just move on to the next slide here. Thank you so much for coming out today, and coming out as in listening to what I have to say about speeding up a website. I know it's a hard time for everybody, and we've all got a lot on our minds. A big thank you to Digital Marketing Tribe for enabling me to have this time, I'm doing it in work time, to communicate with you some of this awesome stuff. Now, myself, Bilal, and Ivan work at Digital Marketing Tribe. We would love to hear from you. So if you are looking at speeding up your WordPress website, or you've got a new development project on the horizon, or you're looking to work with chatbots, SEO, Google Ads, or Facebook ads, absolutely. Drop us a line, find me on LinkedIn, give us a call. We would love to help you. If you like this video, like and subscribe to the channel. I really, really appreciate it. So a couple of people as well going on. Thank you very much. And without further ado, thank you so much for coming along. I really appreciate your time, and have a great day.